Broadcasting live from Talk Radio 98.3 and 1510 WLAC. You're listening to Right at Home Radio with your host, Wes Taylor, America's general contractor. And now, here's Wes.
There we go. Thanks, Ruben. Good morning, America. Yeah, America. I'd like to give a big thanks out to iHeart, all of our stations across the country, and those listening here, but across the globe. Imagine that. We've got an amazing footprint. We're broadcasting out of one of the greatest cities in the country. That's Music City, right? Our flagship station here. We have Talk Radio 1510 WLAC, 98.3 on the FM side. And I'm your host, Wes Taylor, and you're listening to At Home with Wes. It's so good to be back with you all. We broadcasted a pre-recorded show on New Year's Day because Ruben and I were traveling at the time, not together. We'll do that eventually. And then we had our Snowmageddon, and that was last week? Was it last week? And we had Diane Canada was our guest, the brilliant Diane Canada, amazing, with her new app, Reunite America Academy. Great. And they couldn't make it in. She was going to come in with her husband. They couldn't make it in. And looks like we may be headed for it again, sitting here, coming down to the studio. It was kind of a little wintry mix and some kind of spitting. Pretty cloudy out there. Ruben, are you there? Coach Saban?
I am here, present and accounted for.
How are you this morning, brother?
I'm pretty good, man. Had a couple cups of coffee, so I'm wired.
You know, we don't get a whole lot of time, but prior to. He's busy. He's in there. He's the man with the plan and the buttons. And so I get in here and I set up, and I don't even know how I think I used the word hokey or something like that related to television.
Yes, hokey.
You said we're going on the air with this one. You said something about. You asked me, said, well, what is, he's a sports enthusiast and a sports expert.
Yes.
And I said, it's so hokey when one of these 70s sitcoms, and they bring a famous singer in, and then they all do a number. And I said, that is so hokey. He's like, well, wasn't hokey? That's, you mean like, you're not talking about the football team? I said, no, hokey. He said, what does it mean? And I said, like Gilligan's Island, and some movie star shows up in a boat, and at that point I'm going to take the guy out and take his boat. I'll come back and get him
off the island.
But what did you say about Gilligan's Island?
Okay, look, this is a little known fact about me. I not only I'm a nerd about sports, but the second thing I'm a nerd about is 80s rerun TV.
No.
So Gilligan's Island happens to have a movie. And in the movie, they get off the island, and like the 1 year anniversary of it, to celebrate, they get back on a boat and go out to sea to have fun, and then the next thing you know, they're back on an island, stranded. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I dreamt this, but I saw them. I thought I did.
I don't know if it's the story or your delivery. And they get stranded again.
I mean, that is like the best. That is better than JR getting shot and it's a dream. In my estimation, whoever thought of that, the writer, that was just outstanding work. They deserve their money then.
All right, you people, stop having fun. You're at work,
Hey.
Well, the book is out. The new published book is out. And it's called Successful and Profitable Home Ownership, the Kick Butt Guide. Now, the content is the same. So for all of I can't even look at you.
I'm just saying, that is outstanding craftsmanship for the writers of that show. That is outstanding. It really is. In my estimation, my humble estimation.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay, I got it.
To get you to break, that must have been good. That must have really been good.
All right. So, we were talking about the book and the new title of it, Successful and Profitable Home Ownership, the Kick Butt Guide. Now, for those of you who have already purchased the book, the content in it hasn't changed. It changed, and in fact, it may be even a collector's item. Be worth more than that. See, that's what I do for you. I'm here to increase your bottom line and your quality of life, as is clearly Coach Saban, Ruben Hunter. So, I was going to talk about about value just a little bit this morning in this first quarter. Value, because we talk about great products and great services, and then we talk about the price, right? We talk about the people, and we talk about the process, what to like to buy. I had a terrible experience this week with a particular physician's office. They called or texted to change the time for the appointment like 3 or 4 times, and if I didn't respond, they were just going to cancel the deal. And I was like, guys, I can't sit and text back and forth with you all day. I'm one of these 80, 90-hour-a-week guys. So finally I get there, and then in the parking lot, I get a call. It says, listen, we have to reschedule. And I said, why? And this was a long ways away, and it was quite a drive. And so I said, well, the nurse practitioner had to leave. Okay. So what does that mean? Say, well, we have to cancel your. I said, no, you're not canceling. You know what it took me to have to get down here, close down everything in the middle of the day. I was really pretty upset about it. Unlike, say, somebody like Milam's Optical. That's Chris Milam. Chris, you're probably listening right now. Good morning to you, friend. Great products, great service, great price, great people, great process, great follow-up, you know. So I'm not going to give the physician's office a bad deal. They've got it. I know how hard it appears to be extremely hard to be in the healthcare providing business, especially in this busy city. So there's a lot of news today, or what is that news? It's kind of like going like a buzz about discount brokers. When I think of a discount broker, I think of maybe like a Charles Schwab, which I've got a Schwab account for sure. One of my good friends in Louisiana has a Schwab account. Did pretty well. But with my money, and I worked very hard for it like we all do, and it's a pretty good chunk, I don't want a discount anything near that money. As I use Dave Adams. You guys know Dave Adams Wealth Management Group or Dave Adams Wealth Group over there, 12 South Raymond James. And I don't care what they charge me because I know that they're going to grow between 16, 22%. Yeah, thank you, Ruben. And my money's in good hands. I mean, Dave Adams, he's also a friend and a former neighbor, but Miles over there handles my account in particular. I know that my money's safe there, and it doesn't matter if it's $100,000 or it's $7 million. It doesn't matter. I don't want any discount anybody near that. Same thing applies to real estate. It's a seller's market. We're going to go ahead and sell it, a for sale by owner, and we're going to, because it's a seller's market, and that is absolute suicide. Not once, not twice, but every time I've seen it, they don't know the nuances of the real estate business. They don't know that, well, it's going to stay on the market 3 or 4 days, maybe a week or 2. Well, why hasn't it gone? Well, now the property's stigmatized. Well, it's gone because you don't have the MLS. Oh, you used a discount broker to put it on the MLS. And in most cases, they lose well in excess of $100,000 from what a great broker or a great realtor would get them. I guess I'd be one of them. So, for all of you guys listening, we're glad to be with you. We're not pre-recorded. This is a live gig. We're going to have some pre-recordeds coming up. I've got to have a few procedures done. Eventually, when you lead the kind of life like I live and have led, and many athletes, eventually you got to get your back worked on, and that's kind of what's going on. But I won't be out. I'll give you a heads up and so forth. I'm really glad you're with me today and that we're together here. I know it's early. And for those of you here in Middle Tennessee, of course, Georgia, Virginia, and all the way through, probably getting snowed under for sure. Let me see, oh yeah. So got the new book, right? And I just heard the advertisement, and still called Bridging the Gap between homeowners and their homes. But really, the new one it's got a different title, and that's just hit the market this week. So Successful and Profitable Home Ownership, the Kick Butt Guide. So let me start it off here with, I guess maybe I want to give a shout out to my neighbor and good friend, Candace Price. She's a big shot here at iHeart. And I think she's either head of events or catering or something like that. But I want to remind you of an event that's coming up. I love it. The first one that we do in the summer is called Wine on the River. This one here is called Wine in the Winter. And there's a lot of you who I know are going to go. There's a lot of great people that go to there. If you want to go online at wineinthewinter.com, get tickets. It's February 19th, and that's from 5 to 9. It's downtown Hilton. And I plan to be there. It's a lot of fun. It's got like over 130 different adult sparkling beverages. That's my kind of place. So let's see. So Ruben got us out of the last segment with me barely able to breathe because I'm laughing so hard. I don't. You could, if you could. I'm going to take a picture of him from where I'm sitting and put it on my Facebook page, and you'll see. I'm absolutely helpless. I look over there.
Be like, yeah, that guy really is like 6'5" and built like Derrick Henry.
Well, Derrick,
Not.
no, much bigger than that. So, when we left off, we talked a little bit about discount brokers, and it could be real estate, and it could be stocks and bonds. It could be a discount anything, but when it's something of value like your equity or your life savings or your IRAs or your kids' college funds, you don't want anybody discount anything around them. I don't care what they charge, because in the end, if they're really worth what they're charging? It's more about value to me. Now, also, I'm looking to get a couple new sponsors. Okay, people run advertising, somebody who I can champion your efforts. So those of you listening out there, we got a pretty big audience. I'll tell you what we're looking for. We talked. I think we talked with Chuck about this. Was that 2 weeks ago when he called in? And that was Christmas. That was our Christmas show. Uncle Chuck called. So, and I asked him this question on air. I said, "Hey, do you know of a great roofing contractor?" Crickets. Seriously. I used to know a handful. Great roofers. They were actually sanctioned by the GAF and Owens Corning and the roofing material manufacturers. And when you got that warranty that's on the side of that bag of shingles, okay, that is a true warranty, but it depends on who installs the thing. They've got to be a certified installer. I don't know any roofers who are doing a roof correctly. I'm not talking about just putting on the shingles. I'm talking about the way it's vented. I'm talking about your starter row. I'm talking about how many nails and the fastening schedules. There's so much to a roof that has to be done right. It's a system. It's not a thing. It's a system. That means it's comprised or composed of many things, okay? All the way from the sheeting, the plywood sheeting, OSB, all the way to the shingle, all the way to the top, all the way to the venting. I don't know anybody who's doing it correctly. If you are a roofer, and I promise you one thing, you come in here or you're my sponsor, we'll put you on the map, because a lot of people ask me, hey, who do I use? Well, there's a lot of roofing companies. I'm sure somebody out there does a great roof. That's the one we're looking for, okay? But it wasn't just Chuck. It's Chris, it's Brian, it's Wes. It's a bunch of us. We don't know of a great roofer to attach our name to it. I'd love to do that. If you're a roofing company or if you know of a roofing company, let me know. Okay, I'll contact them, and we'll make them big stars. Probably won't cost them much, because it's really more important that I increase your quality of life. I'm not here to make a bunch of money on this thing. I'm in it for the outcome, not the income. All right. So we've talked about Candace. We've talked about a roofer. Today, I'd like to touch on why the madness when it comes to purchasing a house, okay? Sellers probably want to pay attention to this as well. All right, so I received an email. It's Wes at Radio Wes from a woman named Sharon, and she's a nurse, and she's looking to buy a house in Brentwood, close to the Nashville line. Most of you know where that area is, just a little south of Forest Hills. That's where I live. So the problem with being a buyer right now, especially it's really everywhere, but it's primarily, it's the worst in the it cities. It cities being, as I say every week, it's Nashville, it's Austin, it's Denver, it's Charlotte, it's Pittsburgh, and in the it cities. And there are so many people who are wanting to get a house. These are families, people, singles, doubles, couples, and more times than not, almost all the time, they don't get it. They get beat out, okay? And so why? I mean, what's the phenomenon? What's happening there? Okay. First of all, say there are 10 offers, right, on a property. Well, first off, and we're going to have Piper in here in a couple of weeks. She's going to talk at length about this. But first of all, you've got of 10 offers, you probably have anywhere from 4 or 5 of those, half of them, that are people coming in from another market. And if they're coming in from, say, the Pacific Northwest and San Francisco there, they've got a studio apartment that's worth $2 million, okay? They can sell that, make a ton of money on it, and then come here and for 25% of that buy a great house with a great yard and a great community, Okay, and they get to come down here, and the virus taught us that we can work remotely. So they get paid that salary from up there or from Manhattan. Okay, and then they come down here and they can live like a king on that salary because they can do their job remotely. That's who a lot of our clients are going up against when they're trying to buy a house. Okay, and so oftentimes our buyers don't stand a chance. I've gotten us awfully close a few times, and we've actually won a couple of times. I'm a realtor also, so, and if you need my help or advice, Wes at Radio Wes, anything I can do to help you, I will. Okay, so that's one thing that's happening. Another thing that's happening is of those 10 people, those 10 offers that are coming in for a property, depending on the city, but here 25 to 45% of those houses are being purchased by corporations. You didn't know that. I didn't know the stats were that high, so I dug into it a little deeper 2 weeks ago, and that's exactly what's happening. And a lot of these companies, well, they're formed by the big healthcare guys during the Great Recession. Good for them, smart. First to market wins. That's great. I'm all about it. Second group is are these home buying corporations that are funded by hedge funds out of the Pacific Northwest. These hedge fund companies. And we don't stand a chance because they're coming. The people who are coming in from another city, they may offer $50,000, $60,000 to $100,000 more. Well, so can the corporation. In fact, they can do even more. They can throw a renter in there, okay, and that satisfies the dividends for their stockholders, their shareholders, or their owners, and they're in it for the long-term equity position anyway. So it's an asset, and it's an asset that keeps growing. Even when times are bad, we typically don't fall backwards. Even in the Great Recession, I think East dropped in value somewhere between 8 and 16%, but they were a little overpriced to begin with. So now you take an asset, a $500,000 asset, so you pay $600,000 for it. Well, if you're making $50,000, $60,000 a year in equity, that corporation loves that. And okay, good, thanks, Ruben. Ruben, you're the man. I don't even look at the clock. I get so busy into staring at the little WLAC light,
Hey, I understand. That's what I'm here for, man.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a couple minutes left in this segment, and so we're finding that it is so competitive to get a house right now. We're just being outbid. Sometimes, and believe me, this is suicide. I'm not going to ever advise my client, well, we just won't do an inspection. We'll pass that, and we'll give you an extra $100,000 for the house. And hey, we're going to give the selling realtor, another $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. That happens a lot. If I find out who it is, I'm going to turn them in. I mean, first of all, it's illegal. Second of all, it's against every real estate rule ever, and it's against ethics. This is about ethics. And if you have to do that, realtors, if you've got to steal like that to make money, then you shouldn't even be. Well, it shouldn't even be in the deal. We don't have to. I'm extremely successful. I do not cheat. I don't have to. Okay, good business. That's what we do, guys. Welcome back to At Home with Wes, formerly Right at Home Radio. And I'm so glad you're with us. Together, we're bridging the gap between homeowners and their homes, and we talk about just about every subject. We have so many shows left, and we don't have enough time. I wish we had more time. We're going to try to do a 2-hour deal as soon as another hour opens up. Saturday mornings are extremely high demand by great talkers and great shows. So, and I'm glad to be the live guy. I love it. And it's just exciting. It's kind of adrenaline because once Ruben starts the music, if he wasn't here, I don't know what I'd do. Just sit here and stare at the wall and talk, I guess. So I was just explaining that the new book is out, and it's called Successful and Profitable Home Ownership, The Kick Butt Guide. It's available at Amazon, and if I'm not mistaken, our new publisher also has the Kindle version, which makes it easier for do the thing digitally. Some people just like the feel of a book. I do. It's like 350 pages. It's hardback. It's quality. You get it and you contact me. I'll be glad to sign it for you, or you're going to give it to one of your clients as a housewarming gift. It's really one of the best gifts you can give. I'll sign that for you too, unless I have to drive to Kansas or something. All right. Now, we've got this new website that's coming out. It's replacing everything. See, I brought a guy in I said, here's the deal. I'm putting you in charge. You're smarter than I am. Where am I going wrong? Where could we go better? And he did it, and he showed me, and I couldn't believe it. And usually, probably 10 years ago, I would have said, no way, get out of here. This time I said, yeah, let's go with it. What about this? He said, well, I would call that this, and I would do this way and do that. Okay, and what? Tell me the result. He pulls up his, we're at a meeting. He pulls up his laptop and says, here's one of my clients. There's a kid on there with an iPhone. He's doing courses, very simple courses. His kid's making like $30,000, $40,000 a day. That's right. You hear that? A day. He said, well, can you teach courses? I said, I've got 1,000 subject matters on anything and everything having to do with real estate that nobody's ever told people. I get calls from all over the world. People, India, people wanting to get into our real estate, our rental business here. How do I do it? I know all the answers, so I talked to them about it. And I've been fee-based over the last several years, but no, I'm just going to do it in classes. You can watch it at your leisure. How about that? So that is our next deal, and I can't tell you how busy I have been writing and writing. The beautiful part about this is we're going to act much as like the old school record labels. We're going to find people who have extreme talent or extreme knowledge of a subject, and that would be valuable to people. Then we're going to put together their websites, get them on film, and so they can do online classes. But you're going to have an expert in the marketing side. You know, it's not about running TV commercials now and putting your product on a shelf in Walmart. I mean, everything's digital, everything is the internet, everything's Facebook, everything is, and I don't have time for that stuff. I create, okay? I'm the guy that walks into a room of 100 high net worth people and walk out of putting several groups together. And we've got several corporations. That's kind of what I do. I'd rather talk to you in person, have somebody else push the buttons. Does that sound familiar? Don't even start.
Okay, I'll be quiet. I'll leave that one alone.
I look over, he's got something hanging out of his mouth. It's like a bagel or something. Now, when we left off, we were addressing an email that I'd received, Wes at Radio Wes. That's pretty easy, Wes at Radio Wes. And it was from a woman, she's a nurse. Why the housing shortage? And I said, well, we're doing a series on it. Unfortunately, a lot of you don't listen for the whole hour. You don't have the luxury. I can't listen to a show for a whole hour. I try to catch my favorite stuff as I can. And so I thought rather than do all of this over a course of 3 or 4 weeks, just kind of hit them with the basics at once. And that's what we're doing today. So the first reason is when we go to buy a house, especially in Middle Tennessee or the other IT cities, right now it's a frenzy. Number one, interest rates are low. Okay. Now, if we're going to get this inflation to stop and the madness out there in the streets right now in this country, we're going to have to raise the rates. But for right now, they're the lowest they will ever be, probably ever be. You can't go any lower. Somebody might drive an airplane into a building and the economy collapses again. You've got to have a way to be able to lower that to stabilize the economy. So right now, interest rates are really low. You can buy 2-3 times as much house as you could have 10 years ago, for example, or 15 years ago, before the Great Recession. So when we go to buy a house, we're going up, we put our offer in, and we're going up against, literally, in some cases, we're going up against 20 other offers. Can you imagine? 10 years ago, you couldn't give your house away. It was a Great Recession. Foreclosures left and right. Well, there were a lot of corporations that were formed at that time. Okay, We Buy Houses. You guys see them. And American Homes for Rent. These companies were formed, and they buy houses. Okay? So a lot of 25 to 40% of those who are submitting offers are corporations, and they're submitting at a much higher offer than we are. I mean, they've got the cash. Most buyers have enough for the money down and a little bit for an emergency fund. But if you've got say a $500,000 property from last year, this year it'll go for $600,000. Maybe more than that. You've got a lot of corruption going on as well, okay? Now, to add to that, we've got people coming in, moving here from other places where the cost of living is much higher, but they can do that job here because the virus taught us we can do it remotely, okay? Say sell their $2 million studio apartment in Manhattan or San Fran, and then they come here and they pay $650 for a house. That's nothing, and they pay cash for it. It's hard for the average buyer right now to get it. Now, the second piece of this, or the third piece of this, is there's a lot of little pieces. Is we go back to a show that we did a few weeks ago. So back during the Carter administration, everybody there was this. It wasn't legislation. They were trying to saying that everybody has the right to own a house. And again, yes, I agree. Everyone on the lefts agree. Everyone on the right agrees. You do. You have the right to own a house. But what the actual writing was is that everybody deserves to have a house, or they're guaranteed to have a house. Guys, it can't be that way. If you want a house, you have to pay for it. And that's what this was about. Well, then, during the Clinton administration, a whole new group of people came in and said, we're going to take this previous idea and make it happen. Now, you're to make loans to people, everybody, okay? This particular group, they need to have more home ownership, more say in that. This group, they need more than traditionally. So if they can't afford it, have them do stated income. Okay, I walk in and I say, yeah, I'd like to buy this house here. All right, well, what do you make? Well, I make $150,000 a year. Okay, great. Sign this here, and here we go, and we make our money on the mortgage. Here you go. Here's the keys to the house. And I'm going to sell this mortgage, and this other company comes by and buys it, and they make a little money on it, and then that company sells it to a bigger company, and they make a little money on it, and then that company sells it to another, and this keeps going until it finally gets to the real big companies like Countrywide. Does that sound familiar? All right, so the problem is that this happened on a national level, and for a few years, people just weren't paying on their mortgages. So by the time, and I say Countrywide opened up this bag of mortgages, or we call them notes, that were worthless. It wasn't really a big bag. It's a proverbial way of saying, they discovered, wait a minute, we've got billions in loans out there, and the majority of them are worthless. And the result is that world economies collapsed. Our economy collapsed. The banking industry collapsed. The housing industry collapsed. With that went your mortgage people. Okay. With that went your realtors, most of whom aren't active anyway, but the top producers, they struggled. Okay, who was the other one? The builders. The builders were wiped out. Well, why is that? Well, because you get your medium and smaller size builders, guys like me, guys like Chuck, most of the guys who I've mentioned their names here, we're medium to small, and they do anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe 10 houses a year. Well, we were wiped out. I'm not going to speak now. I'm not saying Chuck and those guys, but we builders were. And we were sitting there with all of these projects for sale and in the middle of construction or at the end of construction, and there weren't any buyers. Why? Because other houses were just flooding the market. They were giving them away. But we had to continue paying on those construction loans. And like me, and like a lot of builders, thank you, Ruben, like a lot of builders, we had a lot of our own money in them. And I think at the time I must have had in excess of over $1 million cash in my various projects, but I also had loans. Well, now that came time to call in the notes. They said, yeah, you could pay this thing off. Or you could keep paying the note. And you're paying $25,000, $30,000 a month on the carry. And they're just sitting. So now, most builders got wiped out. So now times are good again. Well, why aren't you building houses again? First of all, that was 10 years ago. When a contractor gets his license or her license, they got to take the test. So it's the contracting test, and it's a pretty serious test. You got to take the law test. It's a very serious test. I did pretty well on both of them, but you have to have assets. So at the end of your courses, you go through an audit. What assets do you have? Okay, well, say you've got $200,000 in equity on your house. You got a truck that's paid for. You got all these tools. You got stocks. Okay, well, when the Great Recession happened, and that oh, by the way, that amount that you have in equity and your net worth, that's what determines the size of permits that you can pull. Okay, so let's fast forward. All those builders are gone. They got wiped out. It would take decades to get back those assets. So you take 5 houses a year times 100,000 builders or 200,000 builders, that's 1 million houses a year. Over a 12-year period, that's 12 million houses that were never built. Now you take the large builders. So we have a massive housing shortage. So thanks for listening, guys. Welcome back to At Home with Wes. I'm Wes Taylor, America's General Contractor. Together, we're bridging the gap between homeowners and their homes. And we usually have a lot of fun doing it. I try to bring you information that nobody else has told you. A lot of people in the housing industry or the building industry, a lot of people go on, folklore, or you remember the bid process, right? Well, you get a high bid and low bid, and you throw those out right in the middle. There's your guy. Really? I don't think so. It doesn't work that way. And Diane Canada was our guest last week, and we talked about that. And I said, how did you find your contractor? She said, well, we did word of mouth. this was going to be a pretty big project for them, redoing the entire house. You don't want somebody who just won the thing on a bid process. The right contractor for you probably asks more questions than you could ever think of, because they want to know not only what is the project, what do you want to do? Well, we want to do a kitchen remodel. Oh, really? Okay, let's talk about that. Why? That's the first thing I do. Why? Because I want to discover what is the disease going on in that house and the dynamics between these family members that's causing them to want to do I'm talking big nuclear project. That's a big deal. Kitchen. It's so many things are happening in that kitchen. You got low voltage, you got high voltage, you have so many different materials from tile to granite or quartz, you got steel and metal, you've got water everywhere, you've got appliances. It's an extremely complicated room, and you don't know what's behind the walls, right? You don't know what's under the floor. You don't know the history of the thing. So you have a contractor who comes in and he asks questions. Turns out you don't need a new kitchen. No, because your deal has to do more with space. You need more space. Well, we can do that. We're going to borrow a little room over here. We're going to make you a big pantry, right? Well, that's a dining room. Yeah, we'll do built-ins on either side. It'll be beautiful, okay? And we're going to save you about $40,000. Your cabinets look great. I think we restore the cabinets. You need new appliances. And that's the way a good contractor will do it. They ask questions. They look for solutions, not to give you a new kitchen, but why? And that contractor that looks at you, sits with you, looks you in the eye, asks questions. They want to know about you, your family, your lifestyle. What can I solve for you? People who solve other people's problems, those are really wealthy people among us. And by the way, while we're there, before I drop this, I promise you I'll drop it after this. But when it comes to like the discount brokers and all that, when I was building, I used realtors. I'm a realtor, but I didn't do that. I stayed in my lane. Okay? Like I said, I've got $25,000, $28,000, $30,000 a month in interest that I'm paying the banks. Time can be your enemy and time could be your friend. So the people who manage time the best, what a commodity, right? And I try to keep it as my friend. So I stay in my lane. I drive my project. I'm there every day. Or if we have several going, I'm at all of them as much as I can be. I'm not out marketing my products or my homes for sale. I want I'm talking full commission, nuclear bomb, super tested, brilliant broker, okay, looking out for the safety of my equity, right? And they're saying, well, yeah, Wes, you're saying that because you're a realtor. No, I'm saying that because I'm smart. Yeah, in fact, there's a great, I'm going to get the title of this thing, and I'll bring it next week, and we'll talk about it. Richard Branson, okay, guys like Richard Branson, these are multi-billionaires. Most of these people, they work, you ready? 90 minutes a day, and that's it. You're thinking, wait, I work 80, 90 hours. Well, those 90 minutes are where they can super focus and super get done what they need done. You can't interrupt them. They don't take calls. Their phone's not on. And a lot of these folks have been interviewed. It's during those 90 minutes that their magic, their gift, that they're able to think it up, come to life, think it through. And Branson was offered, it was something like they originally offered him like $500,000 to do a speech. He said no. He said no. Well, how about $1 million? Will $1 million do it? No. And I think he got up to $5 million. We could pay you $5 million. He said no, because if he does that, he's got to travel and he's going to lose that precious 90 minutes. I find that amazing. So when I'm building, get back on point. When I'm building houses, or I'm selling a house, I want even my own house to disprove those of you guys saying, "Well, yeah, you're a realtor, so you like full 3%." Whatever, whatever. Even when I sell my own property, I have a top realtor on there with me, because I want to make sure that there are expert eyes. There's no emotional involved. I want to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the best possible strategy and negotiation can happen. I'm going to tell you guys, getting a discount broker 1%, and hey, don't pay the full commissions. Yeah, and they put like a little cardboard sign in the yard that nobody ever comes by and puts back up after it's knocked down. I've seen this just about every time. And the sellers take a beating. Not me. I got a great product. I built a great house. I got a great realtor. Get rid of it. We made money. Let's do it again. And that's the way it works. And I don't know what the hang up is with human beings. I know it's human nature to want to spend as little as possible, hang on to as much as possible. My dad said making money is so easy. Hanging on to it is the really hard part. Boy, was he right. Boy, was he right. So I want experts on my team at all times, okay? Now, today, I wanted to talk to you, and I don't think we're going to have enough time to get into all of it, but I want to talk to you about contractors. What is a contractor, right? You think about this. Well, first of all, in the world of the general contractor, the contractor is not a person. The contractor is an entity or a company. When you get your license, okay, it is assigned to a company. And a lot of guys that go in, a lot of women go in, they get the license, think, wow, now I'm a GC, I can build houses. No, the license doesn't go to you, it goes to a company. So there's a guy, I think there used to be, there was somebody that said, hey, I can help you incorporate right here and do all the paperwork, and you pay me to do this. And, it's kind of a racket, but it makes sense because a company's got to have, will typically maybe have more assets or more position of exposure or liability, but it also helps protect the individual as well. Kind of works both ways. So a contractor, I don't know what the official definition is. I didn't look it up, but it's basically a representative of that company. That's the person, and they're granted license by his or her state, right, to provide products or services, or in the case of the contractor, maybe both, to the general public in exchange for something of value. So it's pretty simple. And in our society today, that thing of value, they call something of value curtilage. Okay, realtors know this because they're a test. What does that mean? Something of value. So in the world of real estate and the world of society we live, it's money. Okay. Now, there was a time when, seriously, and probably wasn't very long ago, where curtilage might have been, hey, listen, I'll give you 5 donkeys and a dozen head of cattle, and I'll give you some water rights. So today, the currency is cash, is money. And the mortgage companies would really frown if they saw that in exchange for this house, you're getting some water rights and a couple dogs, right? Okay, so it's the exchange of money, and that's still the standard. Now, the contractor is licensed to perform in the world of residential, light commercial, or commercial, and those are 2 different tests. Okay, I want to be a residential builder, or light commercial, and that would be like small sports bars. The commercial license is going to be for large buildings, office buildings, skyscrapers, so the general contractor is a guy who has passed the tests, right? They've got a good general working knowledge of law, and then they've got to have assets. Okay, so a state will take the assets of the person or the company and say, okay, how much are you worth? What's your net worth? You go through an audit, find out that you have a net worth of, say, $200,000. They multiply that. Each state is different, but they'll multiply that times a certain figure. Let's say times 3 or times 7. Okay, so that means I can pull permits if I'm worth $200,000 net worth. I can pull permits of $1 million or thereabouts of building. Okay, it doesn't include the lot, so I can buy the lots if I got cash. Okay. Oh, we got about two left. Boy, time flies by so fast. All right, now, if I wanted to pull a permit, say for a $60,000 kitchen, that's not a problem because I've got the license, I've got the insurance, and I've got the assets to warrant the project. Here's another difference between a general contractor and a subcontractor. Who, if you have a contractor who's working for the general contractor, they're referred to as subcontractors. Right? Could be a plumber, could be HVAC, could be a roofing contractor. Okay, I'm the GC, therefore, my insurance has to cover everybody. Their insurance may cost $600 to $1,000 or $1,200 a year. Thank you, Betty. And mine may cost $20,000 a year. Because when something goes wrong a year or 2 down the road, they're not going to go look for the plumber and his helper. They're coming to the general contractor.